And I'll read this because it's so important. The Governing Council shall adopt and may, from time to time, amend bylaws for conducting the business of the Institute consistent with the provisions of this charter. It was a bit longer, but it was redrafted in order to make it very short.
I have a comment on it. You adopt something that's already existing, so I think it would be that the Governing Council shall frame and may from time to time amend bylaws.
No, but we don't have the bylaws yet.
No, but the Governing Council will frame bylaws. Adoption means that they're already existing and you're adopting them.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
So draft.
So let's substitute adopt for, what's the term in English?
Draft.
Huh? Right?
Draft.
Oh, draft, yeah.
Draft or
Draft.
frame.
Prepare and adopt.
And I think this provisions of this charter, maybe it's just a typo in the second line. It says this provisions of this charter.
Yes, there is a typo there, yeah.
There's no standard for amending.
Okay. Now, Article 11, Incorporation. But before we do it, and I suppose we are going to spend some time on Article 11, could we briefly take a look at Article 12 and 14? Are those okay? No? Okay, so, yeah. Is it about 12? Okay. On the microphone, please. Otherwise, we don't have translation.
I think that under C, judicial has to be deleted.
Oh yes, it's the same deletion that we did in before.
But this is a definition clause. I think you might want to keep it, because it is important to have it here.
Oh yes, in here it's different.
Yes.
Yeah, he's right, because here is interpretation. What we meant before is defined here.
Yeah, we can get individual members in judicial capacity or judicial members.
But did we keep the judicial somewhere? It's important that we,
Excuse
yeah, but somewhere we need to make it sure.
Antonio,
Yes.
sorry.
Where? Yes.
I think that the deletion of the judicial word should be in B. Should not be in B, but should be in C. Doesn't make any sense to repeat here that members shall include both institutional and individual judicial members. There will be deleted judicial, but the translation of institute should mean the Global Judicial Institute. There would be okay. In B should be okay, judicial, but not in C.
Okay, yeah. So I think, Mansour, there is no risk in deleting judicial here as well. I double check. I went to Article 5.3, and it's already well explained there that he has to be acting judge or those that expert judges.
Live with it. Usually, I mean, if in a definitional clause it has to be there, but I mean, if you're okay, I'm okay with it. I have no serious position, but usually in definitions we specify. But that's okay. I'm okay.
All right, so we delete judicial. And then amendments?
Before that,
Excuse me, before that, yeah.
No, we are coming back to the more difficult clauses that will require a little bit more of time, which is Article 11 and Article 13. I'm just finishing the text, and then we move back to those two articles. Who would like to speak? Is it Emmanuel?
Yes, it's just a proposal on the format. Shouldn't this article be article number 1, because it makes you read the rest of the text, understanding what is being interpreted? interpretation should be the first article. It's just a question of form.
In our legal system, we have the interpretation at the end.
In ours, we have it at the beginning. Sorry, so it's okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't draft it.
Any
I
could do,
didn't
yeah.
draft this, but that's why I didn't complain, but it was Nick.
Sorry, any could do. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It was
okay,
better.
all right, thank you. Okay.
Can we, sorry,
Yeah, who?
can we add
Yeah.
interpretation of the General Assembly
Yeah, where is that?
Here.
Oh, Pauline, yes.
to the interpretations? The General Assembly shall mean the General Assembly under Article 6.
Yeah, good point. I think when we draft Article 12, we didn't have the governing, I'm sorry, the General Assembly yet. This was a later recognition. Thank you. Now, incorporation. The Global Judicial Institute for the Environment shall be incorporated in brackets in accordance with plans to be adopted at the time of the establishment of this chapter. The institute shall have the legal capacity, etc., in brackets. So basically, what we need to decide here is whether we will incorporate the Judicial Institute, when we are going to incorporate the Judicial Institute. It seems to me, at least in my legal system, that we cannot incorporate the Institute until we have the bylaws. Because the bylaws are the ones that will spell out the number of obligations that, that the different legal systems would require. So, my proposal here is just to say that the Global Judicial Institute for the Environment shall be incorporated after the approval of its bylaws. And this, Robert, is the point that you raised at the beginning.
The other language could be that, sorry, that incorporated as given in the bylaws, in the manner provided in the bylaws.
Even better, yes.
Yeah.
But Michael Bote, please.
There must be something like, according to the laws of the state, according to the laws of the state of incorporation. So my proposal would be that we appoint a little committee to do some kind of comparative work. Because if we want to incorporate the institute in state A, B, or C, we should have some idea of what the requirements for incorporation in state A, B, or C are. So if we adopt something here, it has to be very open to an addition or clarification as required by the state of incorporation. It doesn't make sense to be too precise here. This is a process which has been started and which I think should start now, because on the next occasion, whoever convenes that, I think it would be you, Antonio, but whoever convenes the meeting should provide some clarity about the process, perhaps also propose choices, Switzerland, Belgium, Panama, I don't know.
Not Panama at the moment.
Yeah, so it works. But this is the process. This is how it has to happen.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Very good points. Nick Robinson.
Following up on that, which is very sensible and good, there are basically four options that we've preliminarily looked at over the last several years. One is being under the umbrella of an existing international intergovernmental organization. One is, as with the International Committee of the Red Cross, under Article 60 of the Swiss Civil Code. One is as happened to, for instance, the International Development Law Association, which was an NGO, and several states met to form it as an IGO. It became the International Development Law Organization with a small number of states, so it became an intergovernmental body in its own right. And the other is surveying and comparing all the other national incorporation statutes that are optional. So I think in the analysis for the next meeting of this group, the pros and cons of these four generic types of organizing further should be looked at.
Well,
Antonio,
yes. Yeah. Sergio.
creo que si se difiere a otra ocasión la fundación o la constitución del instituto, se va a perder una valiosa oportunidad de hacerlo hoy. Por lo tanto, yo creo que hay que de alguna manera vincular el número 11 con el número 13. Se puede dar por fundado el instituto porque ya hay una amplia consenso o unanimidad en la necesidad. Estamos respondiendo a algo que es el clamor que ya se ha analizado por años. Entonces corresponde que realmente con esta carta de intenciones o de constitución se dé origen al instituto, primero. Por eso es que está el artículo 13º que establece un consejo transitorio que dura 2 años y que va a poder encauzar todos los esfuerzos para llevar a la práctica lo que sea necesario para darle vida al instituto. Pero si no lo damos por constituido hoy, vamos a estar difiriendo siempre para el futuro y una próxima oportunidad hacerlo. Eso es lo primero. Lo segundo, creo que hay que constituir un consejo transitorio que debiera salir de aquí en unas 2 o 3 personas que me atrevo a decir que deben estar de la mano lo que yo recojo, lo que se ha dicho inmediatamente, que quien nos convoca, quien nos ha unido en esta oportunidad, quien nos ha invitado y nos ha cobijado eres tú. Entonces, que efectivamente tú hagas una propuesta como mesa de 2, 3, no más personas que esas, que creas que te van a ayudar en este consejo transitorio de instalación para que de alguna manera vea la luz este instituto. Lo tercero es que creo que también debiera tener esta primera sede en Brasil, atendido los esfuerzos y reconocimiento que hay que hacer a quien ha liderado todo este movimiento. Y por lo tanto creo que estos 3 aspectos son fundamentales. Constituirlo, consejo, y que tú nos hagas una proposición de quienes debieran instalarlo. Y lo cuarto, pero ya es más accesorio, está relacionado con algo que hemos actuado ahora, que es la unanimidad y el consenso. Entonces, todo esto decir que toda esta carta ha sido aprobada por unanimidad y por consenso y que todas y cada una de sus disposiciones así lo reflejan. Y que es la intención seguir haciéndolo de esta manera en el futuro. Es una proposición esa, la última accesoria, pero las 3 primeras creo que son esenciales. Por lo menos por mi parte las propongo y pido que haya un pronunciamiento sobre eso.
Gracias, Sergio. Thank you. Let's go by piece. First, the idea is really to establish, to found the institute here. And in fact, what I would propose is that once we approve not the bylaws, but the charter, we announce this in the plenary right before Achim Steiner's speech. We invite all the judges to sign the judges present to sign the charter. So from a founding perspective, although not legal entity yet, we are establishing this in Rio. In respect to the second and third point, it seems to me that it would probably be better if we were to work in a temporary period until we meet again. And my suggestion is that we meet again in Brazil. We have an offer from the state of Espírito Santo for us to meet there in a larger group. So then there we would approve the bylaws, we would approve the venue where the bylaws would be registered, and we would approve, hopefully, the venue of the Secretariat, because by then we would have made some homework in order to at least give the participants their options. Look, we have 5 options here, 5 countries and institutions that are ready to host us for 5 years. And then accepting Michael Bote's suggestion that we have a small group that will be looking at different legal models, so we are not taken by surprise when we approve the bylaws along those lines. Of course, what I'm proposing here would seem that we would be in sort of limbo, since we would not have one single phase or 4 or 5 single phases. But if we were here, if we were able to arrive here in the manner that we are, we can wait a few more months and then, Sergio, be able to, with more colleagues, then finalize from a legal perspective, from a formalistic perspective, this exercise. I feel very honored that you propose that Brazil host this, but for matters of this nature, we have to select the very best place. I'm not excluding Brazil, but can be any other place that comes with a very good proposal and saying, look, we are ready to do it. My final point is that since you mentioned Brazil, I realize that we have no mentioning in the preamble that we met in Rio de Janeiro. And I think that is very important because we remind us of Rio Plus 20, and it will remind us of the 1992 Earth Summit. So my suggestion is in the preamble that we judges meeting in Rio de Janeiro, and then you find some poetic language to link us to 2012 and or to the summit, just to the summit in 1992. Yes, Luke.
So I think we should follow the suggestion made by Michael Bote, and I think it's up to the interim governing council to prepare this, because if you have to draft bylaws, they should not only be in conformity with the charter, not only with all the points we have delegated to the bylaws, but it should also be in conformity with the law you choose under which, and I think you cannot improvise on that. So if there is a next meeting, even with a larger group, then there should be one proposal at that moment, I think, which is technically, because drafting bylaws in large groups starting from scratch, that's a little bit painful exercise, I suppose. So I would suppose that this interim to the preparatory work, choose one of the best of the least bad options we have, and draft bylaws.
My expectation, Luc, would be that we would have, as we did here, a text to submit. And we'll have preparatory meetings for that. Can do by Skype. It's not that difficult. I think the most difficult part we have already covered, which was the conceptual elements of this institute. And I'm very delighted that we were able to do it, and I'm very thankful to the outstanding group that we have here and those that have met in previous occasion. So if I may suggest, and I'm putting pieces together here, if you allow me, I would put together a drafting group from among the participants to work on the bylaws, and then as we did here, we did there was nothing directing us. We worked, all of us, by instinct and been together. So instead of really establishing and nominating people at this stage, I would, I think Michael's proposal is, I would submit that we go along those lines. And then I will make consultations. But of course, you won't be in charge, don't worry, you won't be in charge of the logistics of the next meeting. So this group would really just work on the structure, and then by the time we arrive, we have something that is as complete as possible, or similar to the charter. Eckhart.
As far as the bylaws are concerned, wouldn't it be more realistic just to base the draft on the Swiss law? And because I think it's the most probable event that we incorporate under Swiss law, because if you don't choose a potential jurisdiction, I really don't know whether all your efforts at drafting bylaws are in vain.
No, but we will draft.
Yeah, right, but
and we
you
will
need
incorporate.
to get some orientation. Without an orientation, or choose two models. Choose an IGO model and the Swiss model, and then draft alternatives bylaws. But if you don't do that, you do it in a vacuum.
Well, unfortunately, we have to be in a vacuum for a period because we don't have the bylaws right now. Yeah, so we have, that was Michael Bote's proposal, and it's your concern as well, that we have to draft the bylaws, but it took us a long time to draft this. And we are barely making it. It's almost, well, it's already 1:30, and probably we won't have lunch. But we are making it. So my suggestion then, Eka, taking into consideration your concerns, and Michael's suggestion is that we put together a small group of people, and if you trust me, I'm not interested I'm interested in the institutes. So we will meet soon. Can be in December, perhaps January, but we can meet soon, and then we'll be able to approve the bylaws that will be drafted, because we cannot draft those bylaws now. And I think, in fact, and in the meantime, in this vacuum, to use your words, we'll be working as we have been working up to now. Relying on the judicial institution, the judicial organizations that we have, and I see Rafael Menezes. Would you please stand, Rafael? Rafael Menezes sitting there. Rafael is the Vice President for the Environment of the International Association of Judges, and I'm delighted that he was finally able to join us since he was in Lima. And we also have Adriano from the Brazilian Association of Judges, of state judges, and we have other judicial institutions that will be helping us. So we won't be, we might be in a vacuum, but we will not fall down.
Can I just comment?
Yes.
That's me. I'm just saying that there is no vacuum actually. That is because if we have established it, under the law you can establish an association that need not be registered, because only after registration does it become a legal entity, but before that you can always have a association. So today what could say, or Article 1 could say that today we've established or founded the institute in Rio, Brazil. So we have done something
very
today.
good.
So we founded the institution, and incorporation will take place later on. So now that there is a body founded, it need not be incorporated, but it still is an association. And then with that association, we could all here become voluntary members, whoever wants to commit, and that would become the interim body which will do the exercise. Because otherwise we're losing it in the translation, in the sense that today the association is founded. Anybody sitting here can voluntarily become member, individual member, and wants to commit that he will do work for the bylaws or whatever, and then they carry it to the next stage.
Mansoor, I could not agree more with you. I think you solved the problem. In fact, we are not establishing, we are founding. So Nick Briner, under the terms provided by this chapter, and then you include Rio de Janeiro and the date. And then in the final document, all of us will sign, and I will invite all judges to come to the podium when we announce this. I think this is really the highlight, the high point of this whole Congress. And it's also the symbolism that we are founding it. Although in a bit of a vacuum.
There is no vacuum, please. There is no vacuum at all.
No. So I think Eckhart Rabiner feels now more comfortable that we are not establishing, but we are founding. And you are founding father. Okay. All right, so I'll invite you, Eckhart, to a caipirinha so we can celebrate. We drink a caipirinha together, celebrating the founding. Yeah.
I think it's been a fascinating morning. It's been a rich discussion. I don't know. That's that. Yeah. I was just saying that I think we've had some very good decisions that have been made, and I really want to welcome, if not the establishment, the founding of the Institute today. I think it's a huge step forward. But I think what we all need to keep in mind, that once you decide in which jurisdiction you will need to incorporate, and that decision will probably come much later, I think each of you should recognize that these documents, both the bylaws that are to be drafted, as well as the charter that you have founded today, may need to be changed, not in terms of the content, but in terms of the pigeonholing in accordance with the laws of that particular country. Because you see, in